Today, we're diving deep into one of the most curious behaviors we see on social media, the choice to just stay quiet.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. They're definitely there, watching your stories, liking things here and there, but their own page, it's like a perfectly preserved museum, not a single new post in sight.
And look, this isn't just one or two people. We're talking about a huge and honestly, a growing population online. They're consuming everything, sharing things in their private chats, but when it comes to hitting that publish button themselves, nope. Radio silence.
Now, it's easy to assume they're just shy or maybe a little insecure, but what if that's not it at all? What if their silence is actually a sign of something much more powerful? That's what we're going to get into today.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to go back to the beginning, back to what the very first studies had to say about the people who decided to opt out. So way back in 2013, a fascinating study came out. Researchers wanted to compare the personalities of people who posted all the time with people who basically never did. The question was simple: what's the difference between these two groups?
And the results? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Frequent posters, no surprise, were higher in self-disclosure and what psychologists call overt narcissism. You know, the classic look at me type. But check out the non-users. They scored higher on something completely different: covert narcissism.
So what on earth is covert narcissism?
Well, it's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's actually this quiet, internal feeling of being special, but it's mixed with a huge fear of being criticized. They believe they're important, but they're so terrified of judgment that they stay hidden.
And this little chart just breaks it down perfectly. Overt narcissism, that's the person who grabs the mic at a party. Covert narcissism is the person standing in the corner, secretly thinking they're the most profound person there, but way too anxious to prove it.
But, you know, personality isn't the whole story. The decision to stay silent, it's not just coming from inside. It's also a reaction to the wild world of the internet itself.
I mean, think about it. Every single time you post something, you're stepping out onto a public stage. And that stage is full of risks. For a lot of people, the potential reward just doesn't seem worth it.
This leads us to this really interesting psychological idea called the privacy paradox. Basically, it's the weird gap between how much people say they care about their privacy and what they actually do online, which is often oversharing. Well, the silent users, they see that contradiction and they solve it in the easiest way possible. They just don't play the game.
Now let's be honest, the dangers are very real. We're talking identity theft, cyber stalking, getting fired over an old post you forgot about. The list goes on. For ghost viewers, avoiding that entire minefield is just smart. It's priority number one.
So, we've covered insecurity and we've covered privacy. But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? There's a much more modern take on this, one that completely flips the script. What if silence isn't a weakness, but a kind of superpower?
This is where the whole conversation shifts, because some psychologists now believe that real, deep confidence doesn't actually need an audience. In fact, it might even prefer to avoid one.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The constant need to document and broadcast our lives can feel like a performance. And the people who don't post, maybe they've just decided to step off the stage and actually live. This slide shows the two versions of confidence perfectly. On one side, you have fragile confidence. It runs on likes, comments, and what other people think. It's always hungry. But on the other side, you have secure self-esteem. That's an anchor. It comes from inside, and it really doesn't care who's watching. Silent users often live in that second category.
So really, it all boils down to a trade-off. Every time you post, you're kind of trading a little piece of your inner peace for a moment of public attention. The silent users have just looked at that deal and said, no thanks. They're making a conscious choice to protect their mental space. And the cool part is, you can actually practice this. Try keeping a journal of your wins that nobody else knows about, or go on what's called a compliment fast. No posting just to get that hit of validation. The whole point is to teach your brain to find joy in the thing itself, not in the applause for the thing.
Okay, let's fast forward to right now, because the pressure to perform online is crazier than it's ever been, and it has created this whole new cultural figure.
And that brings us to the formal definition of the ghost viewer. See, they aren't inactive at all. They are super engaged, sending things in DMs, saving posts for later, sharing in group chats. All of their activity is just invisible. They're like the silent curators of the internet. So why are there more ghost viewers than ever? Well, it seems to be three main things. First, comparison stress. Seeing endless perfection makes your own life feel less than. Second, this intense performance culture, where if a post doesn't do well, it feels like a personal failure. And finally, the craft barrier. Even a so-called simple post now feels like it needs Hollywood-level production. It's just exhausting.
All right, so after looking at all of this, the old psychology, the new psychology, what's the big takeaway for our own lives online?
At the end of the day, it's not about whether posting is good or bad. The real goal is just to be intentional. Whether you're posting every day or you haven't posted in 5 years, what really matters is that it's a conscious choice that feels right for you. And that really just leaves us with one last big question to think about. When you take away the audience, when there are no likes or comments, who are you then? Because the answer to that question, that's where the real good stuff is, whether you decide to share it with the world or not.